Tonight, breaking news as we come on the air, the disaster declaration just in, the first tropical storm of the season slamming the U.S. coast. Also in the east, the life-threatening heat about to get worse, and severe storms now possible in the northeast. And the urgent manhunt right now across multiple states for a suspect wanted for at least 4 murders. First tonight, the images coming in at this hour, Tropical Storm Alberto now taking aim at the Gulf. The watches and warnings up right now, communities already underwater tonight. Up to 10 inches of rain possible. Also tonight, this dangerous record-breaking heat where it gets worse by late week. And now this chance for severe weather in the northeast. Ginger Z standing by to track it all. Also tonight, the massive house explosion in Syracuse. 8 children among the victims rushed to the hospital. And tonight, what firefighters have now discovered. The urgent manhunt at this hour across multiple states for a suspect wanted for at least 4 homicides. The latest case, a man and a woman found dead at a business, a vehicle stolen. Overseas tonight, Vladimir Putin and Kim Jong-un and their new pact. And closer to home tonight, off the U.S. coast, about 100 miles from Florida, the U.S. Navy tracking a Russian submarine. Martha Raddatz with late reporting. Here in the U.S. tonight, the case making national headlines, the plastic surgeon arrested in the death of his own wife. Authorities say he was operating on her, now accused of delaying his call to 911 and waiting to perform CPR on her. Tonight, Justin Timberlake's lawyer now responding to Timberlake's DWI charge in the Hamptons. What he's saying. The applesauce scare, the FDA accusing Dollar Tree stores of failing to immediately pull recalled applesauce, possibly contaminated with lead. What we know tonight. This evening, the images here, one of the world's most famous landmarks, vandalized. What's been done to Stonehenge? Tributes pouring in tonight for Hall of Famer Willie Mays, known for his power and for his grace on the field. Also, this country marking Juneteenth tonight, the powerful images here, and the very delicate rescue operation, the baby moose saved tonight, and that baby's very protective mother watching.
From ABC News World Headquarters in New York, this is World News Tonight with David Muir.
Good evening, and it's great to have you with us here on a very busy Wednesday night. We begin tonight with dangerous weather on multiple fronts, the life-threatening heat about to get worse in many parts of the east, and the potential now for severe storms in the northeast, damaging winds. But we start with Tropical Storm Alberto slamming the Gulf Coast right now, the first named storm of the hurricane season. Texas Governor Greg Abbott tonight declaring a disaster across more than 50 counties already. Activating the National Guard tonight, tropical storm warnings in effect for the coast of Texas. Bands of fierce and heavy rain already, many communities underwater. They are warning about the potential for dangerous storm surge and a significant flash flood risk. Double red flags as far as Alabama. Orange Beach right here closed to swimmers due to life-threatening rip currents and high surf. You can see it there. The coastal community of Surfside, Texas, already underwater tonight. Homes flooded. First responders making high water rescues. Strong winds and heavy rain from Alberto's outer edge already reaching Padre Island, Texas. Expected to last well into tomorrow. Ginger Z with the timing of the storm and the heat and where it gets worse by late week across multiple states in the east. But first, ABC's Melissa Adon leading us off in Corpus Christi, Texas tonight.
Tonight, Tropical Storm Alberto lashing the Texas coast, the first named storm of the season, pushing up to 4 feet of powerful storm surge over the seawall and into coastal communities along the Gulf of Mexico. A water spout spotted just offshore near Galveston.
Alberto slamming into the Texas Gulf Coast with these rough waves, heavy rain, and that storm surge sinking several boats at this Corpus Christi marina.
The bow of one boat and sail of another, all that's left above the water. Waterfront homes left battered. And beach towns like Surfside, Texas, underwater. This driver stranded in flooded streets, forced to abandon her car. But police were able to safely help the young women get to higher ground.
It's definitely worse than I expected, or I'd have been gone, you know. So I should have been more prepared.
Tonight, the Texas governor issuing a disaster declaration for 51 counties and activating the National Guard as the coast braces for up to 10 inches of rain, flash flooding, and possible tornadoes. With Tropical Storm Alberto now headed for landfall in Mexico overnight, officials here in Texas are urging residents to hunker down.
Stocked up on water, everything, and did all that. You know, we pretty much did everything we were able to do to take precautions. Bought extra batteries, lights, bought a couple of generators just in case.
And David, as you can see here, some parts of Corpus Christi impassable. And this as we wait for Alberto to move through. There is still a real threat of more flooding across South Texas. David.
Melissa Adan, amid the flooding there in Corpus Christi. Melissa, thank you. Of course, we're also tracking this dangerous heat for the Northeast, the Midwest. 70 million Americans across at least 15 states again tonight on alert, from Kentucky all the way to the Northeast to Maine. About to get worse in some places. Now this chance for severe storms in the Northeast as well. Damaging winds possible over the next 24 hours. More records falling today across the region. Caribou, Maine, tying its all-time record high temperature of 96 degrees today. Look at the heat dome there. And in the west at this hour, wildfires in New Mexico have now burned at least 1,400 homes and businesses, and the fires have now turned deadly. Ginger has the heat forecast, and ABC's Stephanie Ramos with the images tonight.
Tonight, the searing heat wave spreading deeper into the Northeast and Midwest with no relief in sight. In New York City, thousands flocking to beaches to escape the heat. Some forced to work under the blaring sun. Others doing what they can.
Just remaining cool, of course, hydration, staying inside when it's too hot.
A record-breaking 98 degrees in Boston. Chicago seeing 4 straight days in the 90s. With no air conditioning, Silas Ratliff using his freezer to keep cool.
I usually get like a water bottle or something, once it's frozen, just rub it on me. Try to get through.
In New Mexico, a flash flood emergency just issued as thunderstorms slammed the town of Ruidoso, still reeling from those deadly wildfires. Family members confirming the death of 60-year-old Patrick Pearson, a local musician. His family saying he had a broken leg and couldn't escape before the fire swept through. And late today, police confirming a second person has died. The scale of destruction staggering. At least 1,400 homes and businesses burned to the ground. 8,000 people evacuated.
We were engulfed in smoke. That scared me to death.
Frank and Connie Loya barely escaped.
I don't know whether we're going to have a home.
David, those fires are still burning out of control and spreading in New Mexico. Back here in the east, authorities are warning these life-threatening temperatures will intensify over the next few days. David.
Stephanie Ramos back with us tonight. Steph, thank you. Let's get right to Chief Meteorologist Ginger Z tracking it all for us. Another busy night, Ginger.
Yes, David, you mentioned Caribou, Maine, America's most northeastern city. They not only tied their all-time hottest temperature at 96, but broke their all-time hottest heat index. It felt like 103, and that's where that air was focused today, right in interior New England, where we anticipated it. Some of the numbers tomorrow still have the excessive heat warnings for Manchester, 98, 91 for New York City. Philadelphia will go 93. Pittsburgh still in an excessive heat warning at 95. Now, parts of New England are going to break this with storms, but that comes with a hazard of damaging wind. We're talking in excess of 60 miles per hour. Much of it will be quite scattered in New Hampshire and Vermont. Worcester, Massachusetts, you're in the threat area, as is Syracuse. Then we have to talk about that dome of high pressure, because it's not that it goes away, but it actually backtracks and focuses, kind of laser focuses for the weekend on the mid-south and even back to the plains. You could see records fall from Oklahoma City at 102 to Washington, D.C. by the end of the weekend at 101. And that tropical storm warning is still up from the south side of Galveston Bay down to the Mexican border because of our first named storm, Alberto, which should make landfall by early tomorrow, and the rain should move out of most of South Texas by tomorrow as well, David.
Thank you, Ginger. Again tonight, we'll see you in the morning. We're learning more tonight after that horrific home explosion in Syracuse, New York. 13 people rushed to the hospital, including 8 children, and what firefighters have now discovered tonight. Here's Aaron Katursky.
Tonight, investigators in Syracuse are narrowing the cause of this house collapse that sent 12 people, including an 8-month-old, to the hospital to something inside the home that uses natural gas, maybe an appliance.
Whatever occurred happened in the house.
The collapse was likely caused by an explosion. Fire officials say when they arrived on scene there was a heavy odor of gas, but an inspection today found no problems with the equipment leading to the house. 12 people remain hospitalized, all of them stable, including young children who were critically hurt.
Certainly feeling some level of relief right now at the condition of the victims. Obviously, at that age, everything is heightened in terms of concern and risk.
One large family of Burmese refugees was visiting another when the house collapsed.
It was an explosion, kids screaming, getting multiple calls of fire from residents, and building has collapsed.
Neighbors quickly ushering the occupants to safer spots.
It's a commendable effort, helped in ensuring some better outcomes for the people that were involved.
Investigators are picking through the debris tonight, David, focused on that home as they work to pinpoint a cause. David?
Aaron Katursky back with us tonight. Thanks, Aaron. There is an urgent manhunt underway tonight across multiple states for a suspect wanted in connection with at least 4 homicides. The latest case, authorities say a man and a woman targeted at a business, a vehicle then stolen. Here's Faith Abube.
Tonight, law enforcement agents across multiple states urgently searching for an armed and dangerous murder suspect they believe may have killed 4 people. Police say the 50-year-old suspect, Stacey Lee Drake, captured here in surveillance images, was last seen outside this motel in Arkansas after he allegedly abandoned a stolen vehicle connected to 2 of the homicides.
It's a small town. A lot of people leave like their doors unlocked and stuff, so it's a little scary.
The intense manhunt beginning in Oklahoma last night, where deputies say they found the bodies of a man and a woman inside this business not far from the Arkansas state line.
I'm sitting on scene to a very propane. At least 2 people have been shot.
Investigators say the suspect stole the victim's car after killing them, identifying Drake as a person of interest, describing him as a white male with brown hair and brown eyes, who's 5'11" and weighs 185 pounds. Police stressing that Drake is extremely dangerous and that anyone who sees him should not approach him, but call 911 immediately.
And David, outside of these alleged murders, court records show that Drake has an extensive criminal record spanning 30 years. He's currently wanted for robbery in Oklahoma, assault in Arizona, and murder in Alabama. And currently, authorities have no idea where he is. David.
Faith Abube with us tonight. Faith, thank you. Overseas tonight, and this new pact between 2 of America's biggest adversaries, Vladimir Putin and Kim Jong-un, and what they've agreed to in front of the world tonight. And then closer to home at this hour, the U.S. Navy now tracking a Russian submarine about 100 miles off Florida. Martha Raddatz on it all tonight.
Tonight, a dangerous new pact between 2 of America's staunchest adversaries, with promises to defend one another against aggression by the U.S. and its allies. The agreement comes after Kim Jong-un eagerly welcomed Vladimir Putin to Pyongyang. Huge crowds filling the capital's main square, while goose-stepping North Korean soldiers paraded before the 2 leaders. The agreement signed after hours of face-to-face meetings, a clear reward for Kim providing Russia with hundreds of thousands of artillery rounds and missiles for the war in Ukraine. Putin calling this a breakthrough document between the 2 countries, which he said raises the relationship to a new level and backing what he called Kim's right to strengthen its own defense capability, adding that Russia did not exclude the development of military technical cooperation. And that is exactly what Kim wants as he increases his nuclear and ballistic weapons programs. This all comes while U.S. Navy ships are still tracking a Russian submarine that remains less than 100 miles off of Florida's coast after docking in Cuba with other Russian warships. Those ships, David, now headed to Venezuela. David?
Martha Raddatz with us again tonight. Thanks, Martha. Now to the plastic surgeon arrested in the death of his wife. Authorities in Florida tonight say he was operating on her, accused of delaying his call to 911 and waiting to perform CPR. Victor Akendo now from Florida.
Tonight, we're learning more about a Florida plastic surgeon arrested months after the death of his wife after a procedure he performed. Dr. Ben Brown charged with second-degree felony homicide, turning himself into authorities. His wife, Hillary, went into cardiac arrest in his surgical chair at this Gulf Breeze clinic in November.
A 32-year-old female was undergoing a procedure for a lipo fat transfer.
Investigators allege Brown delayed calling 911 for 10 to 20 minutes when his wife became unresponsive. A former clinic employee told investigators Hillary Brown was undergoing multiple procedures at the same time. She prepared her own IV bags and took a plethora of pills before surgery. Witnesses said when she began to convulse and show signs of overdose, her husband continued to inject her with anesthesia. The employee saying there was no EKG or other life-saving equipment in the room. Hillary Brown was eventually taken to the hospital, where she died days later. Dr. Brown was released on a $50,000 bond. His attorney says that all medical protocols were strictly followed that day. The health department now investigating other alleged malpractice at that clinic.
David? Victor Kendo tonight. Thank you, Victor. This evening, Louisiana is the first state to require the 10 Commandments now be displayed in every public classroom from kindergarten to state-funded universities. 30 years ago, the Supreme Court struck down a similar law in Kentucky, citing separation of church and state. Louisiana's law could face a similar challenge now, but it would come before today's more conservative high court. When we come back here tonight, Justin Timberlake's lawyer now responding to Timberlake's DWI charge, what he's now saying. Also, what's been done to Stonehenge tonight, and saving a baby moose with that baby's very protective mother watching very closely, and you'll see it. Tonight, Justin Timberlake's lawyer is now responding to Timberlake's DWI charge in Sag Harbor, New York on Long Island. The Daily Mail obtaining an image of Timberlake in handcuffs, surveillance showing Timberlake's SUV driving through town there in Sag Harbor. Police say he ran a stop sign, was swerving. His lawyer tonight says he will, quote, vigorously defend Timberlake against the charge. Tonight, the FDA is accusing Dollar Tree of failing to quickly remove recalled applesauce products, possibly contaminated with lead. The FDA says pouches of Wanabana apple cinnamon puree remained on some store shelves for 2 months. The company tonight says it's now operating under new management and is cooperating with the FDA. When we come back here tonight, America honors Juneteenth, the powerful images, also the very delicate rescue, the baby moose trapped, saved, and the mother moose watching it all. And we celebrate a great tonight, Willie Mays. To the index tonight in this country celebrating Juneteenth today, which of course marked the end of slavery. 97-year-old Opal Lee, the grandmother of Juneteenth, leading a 2.5-mile walk to commemorate the 2.5 years it took enslaved people in Texas to actually learn that they've been freed. In Washington, D.C. today, the Honor Flight Network hosting its first ever Juneteenth trip, celebrating the service and the sacrifice of African-American veterans. Tonight, here, the disturbing images of Stonehenge, climate activists spraying orange powder on the ancient monument, which, of course, has stood for thousands of years. Visitors there trying to stop them. It comes just before huge crowds are expected for the summer solstice. And in Homer, Alaska tonight, the delicate baby moose rescue. Tour operator Spencer Warren found a baby moose trapped in a lake between his float plane and the dock. An overprotective mother moose not letting him get near to help. So 2 officers lending a hand, 1 officer temporarily blocking the mother while the other 2 men pulled the baby out of the water. The mother moose then took it from there. When we come back tonight, celebrating baseball legend Willie Mays, his family's new message, just in tonight. Finally tonight, here, the extraordinary Willie Mays. Tributes pouring in tonight for the Hall of Famer, known for his power and for his grace. Tonight, celebrating Willie Mays.
It's gone. It's a home run.
Beginning his career in the Negro Leagues while still in high school.
I had to stay in school, so I played Saturday and Sunday when school was in. When school was out, I would go on the road.
Then signing with the New York Giants, a role model to many.
I would go out, play stickball for about an hour, 2 hours, and then I'd buy everybody ice creams.
2 decades in the majors, and they were astounding.
2-0 delivery. Mays sends another one. It's going far up into the center field.
His first hit of the majors, a home run. He would hit 660 of them in his career. Rookie of the Year in 1951, 2 MVP awards, 24 All-Star games, a Hall of Famer.
Mays hits it into left field. There goes number 3000.
His team winning the World Series in 1954, and it was Willie with perhaps the most famous play in baseball history, known as the catch.
There's a long drive, way back in center field, way back, it is long.
Do you feel that was the greatest catch you ever made?
If they said it's the greatest, I take that.
You'll go along with that.
I'll go along with that, yeah.
Decades later, Mays finishing his extraordinary career with the New York Mets. Tonight, Willie Mays' family saying he died Tuesday in the Bay Area peacefully and with loved ones by his side. He was 93, and his son thanking fans across the country for their unwavering love, saying, "You have been his life's blood." Ballparks across the country tonight paying tribute.
We will always cherish the memory and life of the great Willie Mays.
No question about that. Celebrating Willie Mays tonight and the catch. Thank you for watching. I'm David Muir. I'll see you tomorrow night. Good night.
Thank you for making World News Tonight with David Muir, America's most watched newscast.